Now, I got to ask you about Coach Spurrier, of course, Jason, because you were a wide receiver, and I've had a couple of your former teammates on, and probably most notably that talked about it most openly was Mo Brown, and Mo's a character, obviously, but I've heard some horror stories about playing wide receiver for Steve Spurrier in the film room. And, it's funny because everybody, when they think of Coach Spurrier, they think about, how tough he is on quarterbacks, and if you throw an interception, you make a mistake. If you drop a pass, I mean, it's just about damn near as bad, I would think, as if you're a quarterback and you throw a pick. Just talk about your first interactions with Spurrier and then playing for him, because again, it's funny. We've all seen like the videos of Coach Spurrier. He'd actually get out there and do it. Like he'd show you how to run the route, or at least try to. He'd show his quarterbacks how to throw. And I mean, again, you're laughing. He's a character. Like there's no other way to put it. Again, he would berate, absolutely just leave you feeling that big in the film room if you messed up. But obviously, he got the most out of his guys. But Coach Spurrier, the experience you had playing for him, what was that like?
Man, it was never a dull moment around that guy. That man was something. He'd come over to an individual, and he'd be trying to show us how to do a release if we're going against press, and it was just so funny. The funniest story I got about him is when one time we was in the meeting room, and usually we all kind of set, like the quarterbacks set together, the wide receivers set together, the O-linemen set together, running backs set together. And the quarterbacks kind of set on the front row, and wide receivers on the second row, and running backs and O-line kind of set in the back somewhere. So this one day, Cal Nunn, who was the O-lineman, decides to sit on the second row, and Coach Spurrier usually sits on the first row with the quarterbacks. Cal Nunn decides to sit on the on the second row, and halfway through the meeting, we're going through practice or something, and Cal farts behind him. So Cal farts, and then Cal starts laughing a little bit, and Coach Spurrier turns around. He got so mad. That's not funny. He got so mad. Get from around me. He like kicked Cal out of the meeting room because he farted. It was always things like that happening, whether he calls Garcia up to the board to draw a play and coach it, and Garcia doesn't say something quite right and gets so mad. And that dude, he's a perfectionist though. He wants things done the exact way he teaches them, the exact way he's thinking. He wants you to think like him, and he always coached the little things. He found the smallest little details. Sometime I used to run and only one of my arms would be pumping. One time I hurt my shoulder and only one arm was pumping because my other shoulder was hurting and I didn't want to come out. And he chewed me out that next meeting. I was running a corner and I got open. And he was like, "What are you doing? Your arms aren't even pumping." Oh, man. I can sit here and tell stories all day about that guy. That guy there is a trip, man.
on that note, I'm curious for you, Jason, because, again, I'm sure it had to be funny because I think specifically while you were there, I think it was about a month or two ago, I had Chris Smelly on the show. And, of course, I've talked to Garcia and whatever, but it just had to be entertainment for you guys to watch the musical chairs at quarterback from afar. Because I've talked to both Smelly and Garcia about this game, and I know you remember this, but the 2008 Arkansas game, and I was there when Stephen Garcia and Chris Smelly literally interchanged every single play. And again, that's directly affecting you, though, at wide receiver. So I'm just like, obviously you can't really change up, the way you play the game, but how, I guess, was that tough on the wide receivers too? Like, literally sometimes play to play, not even knowing who the quarterback was going to be.
I mean, not really. He kind of the way he did it in the game, he did it the same way in practice. So he told us what it was going to be in the game. And he said, once a guy proves himself to be the number one guy, that's when we'll have a number one guy. But until then, we're going to keep rotating them in and out until we figure this thing out. So it wasn't really funny. It was kind of like you as a receiver, you just worry about what you can control. It has nothing to do with you. You just go out there and get open, and the ball come to you. You try to make a play on it. But yeah, it's kind of like we get behind Garcia. Like, come on, dude. Like, let's get rolling. Like, get in a rhythm so you can stay in there, and then Garcia makes some mistakes, and then Smelly comes in and you're like, Smelly, come on, like, let's go. Like, so you kind of trying to root both of them on, like,
right.
Just supporting them both, just because they're both your brothers, and you want them to see both of them do well. And that's just what football is, competing. And Coach Spurrier, he truly believed in that. The best is going to be on the field until he realizes who the best is. Everybody's going to play. So it's kind of, I respected it, man. Until somebody showed us that they was going to be the guy. Until then, we're just going to keep rotating. I kind of do the same thing with my 7-on-7 team. I do the same thing with my 7-on-7 team until I figure out who I want in there. I'm going to just keep rotating until some guys make plays.